Edward was born on the battlefield, yet one day his heart would be defeated on a very different front. While searching for a French princess to be his queen, his path crossed unexpectedly with Elizabeth Woodville. When Edward looked into her eyes, he felt a silence he had never known amid the clash of swords. Elizabeth was a proud widow who had lost her husband fighting against Edward's cause, left alone with 2 children. Her beauty was spoken of throughout the court, but it was her calm determination that truly caught attention. She had come before the king to reclaim her father's lands. Edward, a man who had conquered 1,000 foes in war, could not resist the quiet strength of this woman, his former enemy's widow. In 1461, Edward had emerged victorious from the Wars of the Roses, a charismatic young king in his 20s. England seemed united under the White Rose, yet its fragility endured. Another civil war would mean ruin. In a king's destiny, there was no place for love, especially not in such a time of political need, when alliances were everything. Yet Edward chose to follow his heart, even above his crown. In 1464, they married in secret. Neither the court nor the council knew of it. This marriage was not just love, it was defiance. "The king has risked his realm for love," people whispered. But Edward knew in that moment that he no longer had the strength to silence his heart. Elizabeth suddenly became Queen of England. The former enemy, scorned by nobles, now sat upon the highest seat of the realm. Edward's greatest ally, the Kingmaker, Earl of Warwick, had expected him to secure a political marriage. But to Warwick, Edward's choice was weakness. Enraged, Warwick turned his back on his king, forged an alliance with the old enemy, the House of Lancaster, and once again dragged England into civil war. In 1470, the Lancastrians prevailed. Edward fled to what is now France. Pregnant and alone, Elizabeth sought refuge in Westminster Abbey, where she gave birth to their son, Prince Edward. Within a year, the king returned, gathering supporters from Burgundy and London. At Barnet and Tewkesbury, he crushed Warwick and the Lancastrian forces. Then he rushed to his wife and child. When Queen Elizabeth met him, they were no longer merely king and queen. They were 2 weary souls who had survived the storm together. The kingdom was restored, but they were forever changed. Peace returned. Edward reformed the courts and revived trade, while Elizabeth strengthened her influence at court. Her daughters and brothers made powerful marriages. Yet her family's growing power bred envy among the Yorkist nobles. Hatred toward the Queen's kin began to spread. Edward's brother, George, Duke of Clarence, betrayed him. He was soon captured and executed. The youngest brother, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was quiet but calculating. Elizabeth always feared this shadowed brother, suspecting hidden ambitions. Edward, blinded by affection, saw no danger, unaware of the storm rising within his own family. Years of war and luxury took their toll. Edward fell ill in 1483. He left behind 2 young sons and a strong but lonely queen. Upon his death, the crown passed to his son, Edward V. But the boy was too young, and his uncle Richard was named Lord Protector. Claiming to guard the children, Richard confined them in the Tower of London, that infamous royal fortress. Soon after, the boys vanished. No one ever saw them again. The pampered princes had become victims of a ruthless thirst for the throne. Richard crowned himself king. Richard III was now ruler of England. Elizabeth, stricken by grief, could not mourn her sons. She had to survive for her daughters. With sharp wit and courage, she forged a secret alliance with Margaret Beaufort, the mother of the exiled Henry Tudor. Their agreement was simple. Elizabeth would support Henry. If he became king, he would marry Elizabeth's daughter, Elizabeth of York. Thus, the houses of York and Lancaster would be united. and the war would finally end. In 1485, at the Battle of Bosworth, Tudor forces defeated Richard. Henry VII took the throne, kept his word, and married Elizabeth of York. The two rival houses, the Red and the White Rose, were finally joined in a single wreath, the birth of the legendary Tudor dynasty. Elizabeth Woodville was the woman who laid the foundation of this new dynasty. She lost a love to war, won a king's heart, and learned to love again. She endured storms and sacrificed everything to protect her family. Her love shook the throne, but her patience wrote history. The story of Edward and Elizabeth is a tale where the chaos of a kingdom and the fire of passion intertwine. In a realm built on war, they lived a quiet revolution of the heart, and England entered a new era, one still echoing with love, war, and scandal.